Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
The following program is paid for and presented by Tony Mart Presents. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to Tony Mart Presents music, food, fun, travel, and of course, lots of important people around South Jersey who help us make the good times. Let the good times roll. That's what we say. In New Orleans, le bon temps roule. And we want to welcome you all, thank you all for making this show the #1 talk radio spot in this slot of times. And we want to thank you all for supporting all the things that we do. So much happening. We are right now in the midst of planning all the things that are going to happen this summer, beginning on June 14th on the beach in Summers Point, beginning on June 26th on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And this year, you're going to be hearing more new things. Last year, we brought Jersey Gumbo back, thanks to our dear friend Eddie over at the Point Iki Bar and beautiful, beautiful tropical nightclub there where we love to hang out. And we're going to be doing that this year, and we're going to have a lot of chefs. There are a lot of chefs agreeing to come and compete in the Gumbo. Gregory's will be back. They were the people's choice at Gumbo, and they, of course, are ready with a great St. Patrick's Day menu next week. Certainly a wonderful, customary place to go and enjoy St. Patrick's Day weekend for dinner with the great bar next door at Gregory's Restaurant and Bar. And you know the corned beef is going to be good, and they're going to have a good selection of beer. They were the People's Choice last year, and the #1 chef, whole team of chefs, was David Goldstein at the American Culinary Federation. So we got some big-time winners from last year, and we got some challengers coming on. Robert Levinson and his team from Resorts are going to be monsters to break in there and win one of those awards at Jersey Gumbo. July 8th, Monday, July 8th at the Point. I believe we're going to hit it around 3 o'clock. Actually, you might want to get there a little earlier than that. The big 4th of July weekend, we have so much coming up this summer. That 4th of July weekend, we have the 3rd and 4th, Wednesday, John Cafferty and Beaver Brown on the boardwalk. Thursday, for the first time ever, we have the Eddie and the Cruisers party on the 4th of July in Summers Point. That is our legacy. It is our undeniable legacy all over the world where we go. You know, Nancy and I were just in, Tierra del Fuego and Maipo, Chile, and these people know Eddie and the Cruisers. And, of course, John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. John Cafferty is one of the greatest East Coast rockers with our boy Tunes and Gary Guitar Gandolini. We're talking about the best rock and roll there is. Wednesday the 3rd on the boardwalk. Thursday the 4th on the 4th of July in Summers Point. And on the 5th of July, we begin Mardi Gras in July in Summers Point, which has 2 dates, the Friday night, July 5th concert, and the Monday Jersey Gumbo party, free concert, free parking, free festival with all the great chefs. All you pay for is your sampling ticket and your drinks. And they do a great job at the Point. We're so privileged and honored to be partnered with them for that event. And the entertainment, this year we have things that no one would ever even consider. The diversity of the Jersey Gumbo and the Mardi Gras entertainment, those 2 nights, Friday the 5th, and then the afternoon with the chefs tasting the gumbo on July the 8th. I'm so proud of just put this together, and it fell together. Everybody knows, well, most people who are into roots music, New Orleans, Louisiana music, know Tab Benoit. He's become a really major star. He had the group Tab Benoit, the Voice of the Wetlands All-Stars, who had people like George Porter, Johnny Vodakovich, and the incredible Dr. John was in that band, and Johnny Sansone, who, of course, will be performing in one of our biggest events I'll get to in a bit. In that band was a phenomenal fiddler who happens to have been a 30-year veteran of Bourbon Street, and his name is Waylon Thibodeau. And I've arranged for Waylon Thibodeau to come and perform as one of the stars of this weekend of Mardi Gras and Jersey Gumbo. We will have, this guy was for 30 years plus, more than 30 years, on Bourbon Street, entertaining tourists and families back when Bourbon Street was the place to be in New Orleans for all kinds of entertainment. Waylon Thibodeau, Cajun Fiddler. This is one, we have several more country sounds than we had in the past because I've worked them in. People want to hear country music. We want to present roots of country music. The roots. I'm not really going to be presenting a lot of Nashville pop, although some of the tribute bands and cover bands will do plenty of Nashville pop. When Hawkins Road does the finale concert on the beach, September 6th, Brian will certainly do country music if people want, to request country songs. But Waylon Thibodeau is a Cajun fiddler from Louisiana who was an entertainer on Bourbon Street. He will be performing with Dr. Ben Levin, Professor Ben Levin, the piano player who brings all the New Orleans piano sounds. And on top of all of that, we will have our own Billy Walton performing with them, with Destiny Monroe and William Paris, to do the funk, the funky New Orleans music, the Nevilles, the Meters, the music that is the parade music. We're going to have a Mardi Gras parade and everything else at the beach that night, July the 5th. So this is just a little bit of a snapshot. We're going to have a very great guest today, Doug Deutsch. He's going to talk about the roots of the music, and we're looking forward to that at the end of the show. We're going to talk more about the winter wine sale at Circle Liquor Store. Our wine goddess, who will be back with us next week, we miss her, that's Julia Stacy Riley. And she gave us some stuff that we want to talk about today. Great winter wines. It's time for all the the winter drinks, the beers, and the microbrews, and craft beers, the stouts and the porters. This is the perfect time of the year. Jordan's got them over there at Circle Liquor Store. Circle Liquor Store gets dozens of new microbrews, craft beers every week. And you can see the selection like nowhere else because everyone wants to have their new products debut at the number one independent liquor store in the state of New Jersey, and probably the best in the world. I can tell you that I had conversations in the Maipo Valley of Chile about Circle Liquor Store, and it doesn't take long for people, if they don't know it, to get on the internet and Google it and come back and say, yes, Mr. Marotta, we recognize that you are affiliated with this unbelievable place. And I enjoyed 4 of the finest Chilean wines imaginable at Santa Rita. And we're going to talk about Santa Rita. We're going to talk about wines. As we go forward, Chilean wines are going to be an ongoing theme with Julia and Mike Riley as we're going forward into the spring. And these Santa Rita wines, they called the actual winemaker himself, Sebastiano, in to meet with me when they realized that I was coming from Circle Liquor in terms of, where I was going to be talking about their products. And these were 4 of the greatest wines I ever had in my life. And he took me through it personally. It was an incredible wine tasting experience. One of the highlights of our 2-week, we were in Chile for about 19 days because we went around Cape Horn from Buenos Aires to Santiago, and we went to a lot of really interesting places. For you Frank Zappa fans out there, we actually went to Tierra del Fuego National Park, and the highlight of all of that was in the Maipo Valley with Sebastiano at Santa Rita. We also were at Concha y Toro, which is the biggest eventer in Chile, and many of these products are available at Circle Liquor. And we also took Nancy to this exclusive little winery that specializes in bubbles, because Nancy likes sparkling wine. And that was one of those incredible experiences that you live for on this veranda. And before the tasting, the guy says to me, look out. Everything on this side is Pinot Noir. Everything on this side is Chardonnay. That's the grapes that were in front of us, planted in this valley, surrounded by beautiful mountains. The Casablanca Valley, known to wine enthusiasts, Vina Mar, unbelievable. We were very, very fortunate, and we're very grateful. This is what we get to do. I want to bring us back to the themes that we are developing. It's very important to me that people understand what's happening in music, because, we are so far beyond this typical thing that's happening where people are just throwing a bunch of tribute bands up, and that's a concert series. Not that we don't have tribute bands. We have some of the best tribute bands, and we have bands that are so great that they're willing to come down because of our relationships and pay tribute to themselves, like John Cafferty and Beaver Brown, multi-platinum performer, Tom Hambridge, multi-million selling, multi-Grammy Award winner on August 2nd on the beach in Summers Point. You know, these kinds of artists that pay tribute to themselves. Third World is coming on the 9th of August. August on the beach in Summers Point is just going to be outrageous. Tommy Castro's coming Labor Day weekend. This is one of the greatest blues rockers in the world. Now, I want to take this back for a minute and talk about the music so people can understand. I really want people to understand that we know that people who were hanging out at the Mart, there's not that many left. It's like World War II veterans. There's not that many. The baby boomers, our generation, is fading. But it's very important to understand that we move forward with what I call, in terms of just labeling it with one simple word, the jam music. But I want to take a second to talk about that and then bring you fully forward so that you can see what it is that I'm talking about in terms of the importance, the cultural significance of this great music that we've devoted our lives to. This is Tony Mart Presents. Music, food, fun, travel. Let the good times roll, and we are always living the legacy of my father, Tony Mart, and what it means to the people who were there and people who are now experiencing at the concerts, the Atlantic Care concerts on the beach in Summers Point, the Mardi Gras on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and more events coming that we're going to talk about. We are broadening and widening, and we're very, very proud that we're able to do this. But going all the way back, the music began in New Orleans. Great American music. American music was born in New Orleans and came up the river. As they say down there, the music that stayed became jazz. The music that left became rock and roll. But there's a lot of places along the way, like Memphis, of course, most important, and now Nashville is even more important. But Tennessee, along the Mississippi River in Memphis, and then Arkansas, where Levon Helm and Conway Twitty came from. We are a part of that history at Tony Mart's. And this music came up the river, went to St. Louis, Chicago, New York, and eventually, of course, the Jersey Shore, and places like Toronto that are part of our legacy with Levon and the Hawks becoming Bob Dylan and the band. It becomes two different branches of this river. And one of them, and you're going to hear a lot of both of them, and because this is where we're going. What I'm trying to say, and I may be torturing it a little bit, and if so, I apologize, that real American music is now being performed at mega concerts all over the world, mega festivals in this country, and it kind of, for me, falls into two areas. The area of roots rock, Americana rock, blues rock, and that type of Americana music. Now, you're going to hear a poster child for that. Please mark your calendars. And for those of you who are still stuck on this ridiculous idea that I don't want to go to Atlantic City, free one of the greatest names in roots rock, blues rock, and the legacy of Southern rock and roll, Devin Allman, who along with Derek Trucks and the Tedeschi Trucks Band are the biggest of that whole Macon, Georgia, Allman Brothers legacy. On the 7th of August, you just drive into Atlantic City, go right to the boardwalk, drive right to the boardwalk on Mississippi Avenue, go under the convention center, the old convention hall, which is now Boardwalk Hall, and park for like $10, come up the escalator and see Devin Allman performing for free. And Billy Walton opening this. This is a $50 to $75 concert, or it's part of a $75 to $100 festival, and this will be one of the highlights. We're going to talk more about that sort of thing with Doug Deutsch when he joins us, but I want to bring it back to a story I want to talk about that's very timely involving the Oscars tomorrow night, just so I can illustrate to people what it is, what it really means, what we're doing. It's so far beyond, they do some concerts down on the beach. What we've taken it to, we're dedicating our lives to this now that I've retired from the profession. And we have the other side of this, which is the New Orleans R&B, street beat, funk, brass band, all of those traditions. As I was saying before, Mardi Gras weekend will have the traditions of the Neville Brothers and the Meters. And Professor Ben Levin is going to have Dr. John and Professor Longhair, all of the New Orleans sounds, but all the music that derives from that. For instance, Jeff Bradshaw has just agreed to perform on the 31st of August on the boardwalk. Jeff Bradshaw works with people like Jill Scott and people like Patti LaBelle, the biggest names in contemporary R&B. And these bands that are coming out of that tradition are going to be featured all summer long at different locations where we're producing. A perfect example is on the 10th of July. We're going to have a guy who has become really a regular performer for us, an incredible performer for us, actually, Stanley Jordan, one of the greatest guitar players in the world. Well, he was Downbeat's number one guitar player. Downbeat is the Bible of jazz. Downbeat. Nancy said offbeat, but that's New Orleans. This is the world, Downbeat, a New York publication. And he's going to do a tribute to the Grateful Dead. Okay? You see where I'm going with this. This music is coming together for the Generation Xers and the younger people, because they're the ones that are coming out and supporting it. And Stanley Plays Dead is really going to be a lot of fun. And in addition to Stanley Jordan paying tribute to the Grateful Dead, now, this is the kind of tribute band I present. This is the kind of tribute band Tony Mart presents. One of the greatest guitarists on earth, acclaimed by Downbeat, not by me, by Downbeat, to be one of the greatest jazz guitarists in the world, not playing inscrutable jazz that bores people, but playing the music of the Grateful Dead, which is an enigma in our society. And opening the show that day, again, another theme you're going to keep hearing is these young bands coming up. And we have a band from Georgia who is very hot, couple of guys, the horn section's from Jersey. And believe it or not, they're called Funk U. And Funk U will be opening up for Stanley Jordan. And you've got a jam rock, jazz jam rock, R&B funk festival for free on the boardwalk in Atlantic City on the 10th of July. And, of course, these things will all these schedules will be printed. Atlantic City is not printed yet. Summers Point is printed, and you should be able to find it nearly complete. There's only one or two little things that are not. It's pretty much done on TonyMart.com, on the Summers Point Beach Concert Facebook. Nancy's saying no.
It's not on the website.
It's not on TonyMart.com yet. Yes, it is. Okay. Nancy's just messing me up here, okay? I'm trying to do a show, and she's shaking her head and saying, no, yes. Why don't you come on an interview with me, Nancy? Listen, you can get it on the Facebook page. John LaRoe, our photographer, does a great job with that. And the Grizz is doing so many things with Instagram, and you can find this information. Believe me, it's not hard to find. And I want to say something about the Atlantic City concerts. That's very important. In the law, we call this a disclaimer. The CRDA, the state of New Jersey, and the city of Atlantic City are very much inclined, are really working with us to get any approval we need, funding we need to do these 11 concerts beginning on June 26th in Atlantic City. We have two choices. We can wait and not give you the information, or we can give you the information with the caveat that anything could happen. It is possible that the funding is not there, and then we have to come out and say, sorry, we're not doing it. But we have chosen to come out and give you the information because we believe that people really want that information. The inclination is to do more and more ahead of time in planning trips and travel. So we want you to know that on August 7th, Devin Allman is going to do, it's amazing how great these concerts are. It's incredible that they are free on the boardwalk, and that is thanks to the CRDA and the grant that they give us to do this. That series, Mardi Gras on the Boardwalk, Wednesday nights, June 26th, is a perfect example. The Piano from Savannah. And this is Victor Wainwright and the Train. This is one of the greatest bands in the world today. And I will stand by that. I will put them up there against any of the greatest jam band genre groups. I mean, I'm not picking on Tedeschi Trucks because I love Tedeschi Trucks. I love Tedeschi. Trucks himself is a guy that I've been fortunate enough to speak with and get to know him. He's a great, great young man and one of the world's greatest guitarists. And Susan Tedeschi, we have the guy that wrote her first 2 million sellers, Tom Hambridge, performing on the beach. So when I say I'd put Victor Wainwright and the Train up against them at a festival as co-headliners, I know what I'm talking about. And if you want to see a band this great, if you want to see what epitomizes what's happening in the world today, roots rock, blues rock, He's like a dueling piano guy, Victor Wainwright. Many of you have seen him in Southern Hospitality, but he's got the super group now with an unbelievable horn section. Two of the finest young guitar players. Patrick Harrington is one of the greatest. It's all free, June 26th. And we're telling you that now, knowing that if anything were to happen and we didn't get the grant, we would have to say, I'm sorry, we didn't get the grant. But we want you to be ready for that. Wednesday, June 26th. And we want you to understand that there may be something going on with a tribute band somewheres playing Brown Sugar and playing Brown Eyed Girl and whatever over and over again, the same thing. This is an opportunity to see for free on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, the greatest and the hottest on earth. And the following week, John Cafferty and Beaver Brown. And on the 3rd of July, and we just talked about the 10th of July with Stanley Jordan. And I want to talk about the 17th of July with one of the greatest groups in the world, the Phantom Blues Band. This is Taj Mahal's Phantom Blues Band. These are Bonnie Raitt's guys originally. And one of the stars of this band is a true star of Texas Western blues, who is not a star like you hear his name all the time, but he has 8 Grammys or something, some ridiculous number of Grammys for the work he does with B.B. King. And that's Johnny Lee Shell, who sounds so much like B.B. King. They had him on so many of the recordings, and he got Grammys for the work that he did. But, he is part of Phantom Blues Band. Tony Bronigal, who you've heard on this show, they are one of the greatest groups on earth. Etta James, B.B. King, I could just go on all day. And they are going to perform with Curtis Salgado, who you've heard before, one of the greatest blue-eyed soul singers we have left on earth. And this show is one of only a few that they are doing, headlining around the country on the 17th of July in Atlantic City. And then on the 19th, it's a double down on the beach in Summers Point. So you get a choice or you get to see both. And it's certainly worth it to see both. And with them will be one of our favorites from New York originally, but from right here in the old Pueblo right now. We'll see her tomorrow afternoon. And that is Little Mama, Heather Little Mama Hardy. She is going to perform as a guest star with Phantom Blues. So you've got Phantom Blues Band. You've got Curtis Salgado, the man who actually, the character Curtis in the Blues Brothers is named after Curtis Salgado. And you've got Heather Little Mama Hardy, the sultry, hot, so talented blues funk violinist on the 17th in Atlantic City. And on the 24th in Atlantic City, I'm going to stop at this point because I have so much else. Actually, we're not going to stop. We're just going to bring on our guest and continue. But before we get there, I want to talk for a minute about what we're going to be doing on the 24th of July in Atlantic City, the 26th of July in Summers Point, Friday night. And for the first time ever, Tony Mart Legacy Concerts in Cape May at the Cape May Convention Center on the 29th of July. And the Tony Mart Legacy Last Waltz, which is our rendition of the movie that was made by Martin Scorsese 11 years after Levon and the Hawks left Tony Mart's and became the band. The Last Waltz is a famous and one of the greatest of all the, I think it ranks right up there with Woodstock as one of the all-time greatest music, movies, rock and roll, incredible what it is. And you'll get to see some of the finest performers in the world today and some of the most famous. Coming back to the jam band genre, the headline performer on this show is no less than Dave Malone from the New Orleans Radiators. And if you know anything about New Orleans music, you know the Radiators have been one of the top rock and roll bands, if not the top rock and roll band, for 40 years in New Orleans with their own brand of rock and roll, which, of course, as they say in New Orleans, everything is a little bit funky. They call it fish head funk. And Dave Malone will be joined by Grammy Award winner Paul Nelson, by the Honey Island Swamp Band, one of the great jam rock bands, Johnny Sansone playing the accordion and the harmonica in this band, and we have one of the original people from the movie, Bob Margolin, who was the young guitarist with Muddy Waters in The Last Waltz. Well, the thing that is most timely about this is, and just appreciate this for what I'm trying to say, please. That movie was done by Martin Scorsese. Tomorrow night on the Oscars, he's up for 10 or 11 Oscars, okay, with this great new movie of his. And the guy who did the music for the movie, Robbie Robertson, who was in Levon and the Hawks, one of the leaders of Levon and the Hawks, when they played at Tony Mart's in 65. And we will be reliving that legacy. And that's what all of this is really about. There's no better person to help me explain to you what it is we're talking about here, because he is one of the top publicists in this type of music. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. Just consider the fact that he is the publicist for the International Blues Foundation. He is the publicist for so many of the great blues rock and roots rock bands in the world today. And he is our very own, living in Atlantic City and writing for our beloved Shore Local, Southern New Jersey's news magazine. First time ever, but not the last. Welcome to the show, Doug Deutsch.
Hi, Carmen. Thanks for having me. How are you?
It's my pleasure, my friend. You know the schedules. You're hearing all the things that I'm saying. What's got you the most excited? Although, ironically, we can't announce. We have a couple of announcements yet to make, and we can't make one today, which is probably the most exciting one for you. But
I know, and I talked to Ruben yesterday, to try to get a confirmation for this. I even texted him. I said, I'm going on radio with Carmen in 20 minutes. Can we get a,
right. We have plenty of time for that. We don't always like to let people know how we make the sausage here. However, let's start with no less than Devin Allman, okay? Just what he means to what we're talking about here. I think he's one of the greatest we have.
Yeah, I mean, Greg has a couple sons that play music. Another one is Michael Allman, but, Devin seems to be the one that has really picked up the ball of the Allman legacy and run with it. Not only solo with the Devin Allman Project, but also the fact that he plays with Dickie's son, Dwayne, on the Allman Betts family, which I do publicity for I've done the last 3 tours. So, he's got all these different projects going. And again, Reuben Williams has so much to do with that. Reuben does a great job of guiding his career,
Right. And Reuben Williams brings bands here. Last year we did Big Chief Monk Boudreaux with him, and many over the years we've done with Reuben.
Tab Benoit.
Tab Benoit, of course, and that's been one of his superstars. But let's go on to Victor. as far as Devin goes, it's amazing that we're doing that for free on the boardwalk, isn't it?
Yeah, because I know how much tickets are to his show. This would be a $30 to $50 ticket anywhere for any of the shows that you do. And people, all they have to do is show up to see, world-class talent. And to see it at no charge is like a beautiful thing, So
we're going to start that series with Victor Wainwright and the Train. And before you came on, I said I would put them up against anybody. I think they are one of the greatest bands in the world.
Great performers. Victor, I've worked with him now for about 6 years, and I got to see him at the Lizzie Rose Music Room last summer, and how he tilts the piano. This huge, it's like you don't even like, God, this thing's going to fall. I mean, he's really acrobatic with his stuff, and I don't know, but Victor lost a lot of weight. So it's kind of like a little more, he maneuvers a lot more. So he goes out with the Train, which is the horn section. Terrific, that, and yeah. So and he's got a bunch of dates coming up.
Dougie Wolverton and Mark Earley, two of the greatest players in this genre of music. Mark Earley come up. Both of them having come up with Room Full of Blues and so on and so forth. But I just think the combination in that band. They were on the Blues Cruise with us in January. And I always try to see everything they perform. I love that band. And I'm honored that we're going to be able to start our concert series on June 26th with this the Piano from Savannah.
The Piano from Savannah, that's right. Yep.
Right. Tell us some of the other things, Doug, that you really want to share with our audience. I know you're very hip and keenly knowledgeable of all of this, including what we do.
Well, I love the fact that you're bringing the blues and the roots to Atlantic City. I mean, that's the one thing that's missing here on a year-round basis outside of the casinos. There's no blues and roots kind of clubs, So if I had my way, I would try to make it expand what you're doing at least once a month at a venue out here and to do a blues show. I mean, I would love to see that on a year-round basis, but that'll take really careful planning, I suppose,
Well, it's all become blurred. And, when we talk about a band like Devin Allman, we're talking about the roots of classic rock, classic Southern rock. Yes, they were one of the greatest blues bands of all time. But for me, it's hard to define, and I don't even like to call these bands blues bands as much as I like to call them the next generation of both the New Orleans R&B funk and the roots rock and roll Americana bands. I mean, I was just talking about the band and Levon and the Hawks, and that's part of our legacy. And in my opinion, they helped define this huge movement in music right now to the point where Stanley Jordan is going to come and play the Grateful Dead. That's a hell of a thing when you think about it,
Yeah. It's that an artist like that will venture into, play something like that. I like the fact that you pay homage to not only the New Orleans acts, but also the Southern rock acts. And let it not be forgotten that you also book some great, Memphis blues acts, or acts like Curtis Salgado, Chicago Blues and Eckies, Tommy Castro, Shamika.
Right.
I mean, yeah, those are really top flight blues acts in anybody's book, So
Shamika was so great on the ship, and her New York, Brooklyn-born guitar player. What, Ness?
Would you say
Arthur Nielsen? The great Arthur Nielsen. I love Arthur Nielsen so much.
I do remember him last summer. He was good. Very good. She had a great band.
tremendous player. Well, I appreciate what you're saying very much, and this thing with Curtis Salgado performing with Phantom Blues Band, and we're bringing in Heather Little Mama Hardy. That's going to be a spectacular week, and very few people. They are going to headline a few festivals, but not that much. And I gave them the anchor. In addition to what we're giving to the people in the South Jersey and the Northeast region to come and see Phantom Blues and to see Curtis Salgado, I was the first one to step up and say, hey, of course, I knew what was going to happen before it was happening, but, Phantom Blues Band, Curtis Salgado together, I'm in. You got yourself an anchor. Now you can build around it, and that's what they have to do, because maybe you want to comment on this a little bit, Doug. You're in a great position because of your knowledge of the business and everything to comment on this. What we do is support the greatest musicians in the world who are not being promoted with hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars behind them. We use the resources we have, their management. I mean, Reuben Williams is a great example because he gets this group's great exposure. But people need to know how great these bands are, and that's part of what we dedicate our lives to. That's what I have in common with you.
Yeah. It's great music, in a lot of instances, stuff that people grew up with. And, when you bring acts like this to town, Carmen, it does also open up other booking agents and managers and are saying, oh, let's see, Devin played there, and that woman, the female guitar player who we can't talk about, hopefully she'll play. I mean, that just has like a great effect on being able to like open doors for other acts like that to be able to come and play here.
A perfect example is Ivan Neville. I've had Ivan Neville a couple of times, and now they're booking Ivan Neville at the biggest casinos in their showroom. And there are many other examples of that sort of thing. I mean, Buddy Guy's a perfect example. I never did Buddy Guy, but I'm doing his producer, Tom Hambridge, and we've seen Buddy Guy a million times. That music has ascended into the top ranks. Tedeschi Trucks is another example. These are headliners now in casinos, and they are the bands that we're talking about right now. I'll tell you somebody who could go there in a minute, Tommy Castro. He's so great. He's such a great performer, and I like Tommy Castro because he's as much a rocker as he is a blues rocker, and those great songs he writes are almost Springsteen-esque, some of them. And
he's also, after all these years, let's not forget this. He's such a great guy. Remember John LaRoe introducing me to him last summer, and he's just like a really cool dude. He's been around so long. He's not jaded. He'll talk to people. He's really he's a nice fella. And
he played with Jerry Garcia and Carlos Santana and Mike Bloomfield in the bars in San Francisco back in the day. He is the real deal, Tommy Castro.
Yes, he is. Yep. I hope it never comes down to you having to compete with a casino budget for a certain act, because that would be difficult for you. You know what I mean? Like if they like Ocean Casino had Buddy Guy, and let's say you wanted to book Buddy Guy. Well, they've got a pretty big war chest there for entertainment. I mean, that's so I hope you can still keep booking the great acts that you have and parallel to what the casinos do, so.
Well, the secret is bringing them up. Victor Wainwright has a chance like Tommy, only more of a chance because he's so young, of becoming a major headliner. We have a band opening up in Summers Point. I hope you can come and catch them on June 14th. About 3 months from now, called Bywater Call. They're a Toronto band. If you look at them on stage, they very much are set up like Tedeschi Trucks. 2 horns, the woman in the front, the B3 organ, and the rhythm section. And, of course, they're a tribute to Southern Soul and New Orleans R&B. Bywater is a section of New Orleans, and they called themselves Bywater Call. And I'm opening the beach concert with them on the 14th in Summers Point, and that's a band that you will probably hear a lot more from in the summer. In the future. You know, Doug, my father was known for that, always being on the cutting edge. Conway Twitty played rockabilly in Tony Mart's, not country. And Mitch Ryder. Oh, I'm glad I brought up Mitch Ryder because you're Mitch Ryder's publicist.
I am,
well.
yeah.
Tell us about that for a minute.
Did you talk to his wife, Megan, about booking Mitch? There's just so much going on. That would be great, too, if you did that.
I want to have him. I want to interview him. And it would be wonderful if we could have him perform. But Mitch Ryder took the last weekend of the summer of '65 after Levon and the Hawks went off with Bob Dylan. So they're a big part of our. He's a big part of our legacy as well, Mitch Ryder. These are people who we want them to be recognized, like John Cafferty. And of course, so many others. And I got a nice.
You know what? Next time I see you, I got a nice new package of CDs. A lot of them from Roof. I'll have the new Canned Heat for you, which is out in April, and I'll have the new Mitch Ryder, which is a double album that just came out for you.
Roof. He's referring to a German label that does a lot of great work, recording some of the greatest bands in the world. Roof Records, RUF. You should Google them and check it out. A lot of our friends are on Roof Records, and a lot of our friends have been on Roof Records in the past. And you work for Roof Records, right?
I do. I'm their publicist. Yep. I remember thinking in the last summer I saw you we were at the Point, and I think Bob and Cindy were there, and your wife was there. I think we were seeing Billy Walton. I said, Carmen, I can't believe it. I just got offered to work publicity for Roof. I think you were the first person I told.
Roof Records, the International Blues Foundation, some of the greatest bands in the world. You are a preeminent publicist and a great guy to work with. And I'll tell you, we are very grateful, Doug, for all that you do and all the support you give us. And this will not be the last time you're on this show. Let's make it a regular gig. What do you think?
I would love that. Sure. I would love that.
Go.
Hey, Carmen, make sure you get me info about that band on June 14th. I want to definitely do something on them. The High Water Call, is that what they're called?
High Water Call, right. I'll get it to you right away. Make a note. God bless you. Take care of yourself, my friend.
Okay, Carmen, thank you so much for having me on.
Take care. Doug Deutsch, everybody. Very, very knowledgeable. He and I could go on all day talking about this. Our bottom line is what I said at the beginning of the show. We are on the cutting edge like my father was. We are presenting the greatest groups in the world, and we are very proud of that. And if you just follow along and come see Victor and the Train come and play for us, and if you come and see Bywater Call and see some of these other groups that you may not know, and some you know very well, the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, for instance. We didn't get to that one, did we? However, I want to thank Circle Liquor Store. I want to thank our dear friend Rich Gerber, and I want to let you all know that we're here and we're working, and we'll see you out there soon. Until then, let the good times roll.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by Tony Mart Presents.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.